Hey everybody, quick video for you today. This is our last section of this unit, which is so hard to believe. Unit 8, Chapter 9 in our textbook. So Section 9.7 is all about the power theorems. No, that is not me. It's also not my husband. All right, let's keep going. All right, I was going to pause there, but I'm going to keep going. All right, so there are three main power theorems, and power theorems all have to do with the length of chords and secants and tangents as they relate to circles. So the first power theorem is this one, and this one we lovingly refer to as the chord power theorem, and this was named after John S. Cord and Jasmine P. Cord. They wound up getting married in like 1921. Just kidding, it's called chord because we've got two chords that cross each other, obviously. So here's the power theorem. It's pretty crazy. If you have two chords that cross within a circle, the segments that are created, so you see segment A and segment B and segment X and segment Y, the product of A and B is equal to the product of X and Y. And if we have some time, we'll talk about the theorem behind, or sorry, the proof behind this power theorem. It's pretty cool. It has to do with similar triangles, which we know and love. So that's power theorem number one. So let's see an example of this guy. So here I've got two chords that cross in my circle, and I know that 10 times 7 is going to be equal to 6 times x. So 70 equals 6x. You just solve your equation, and you're done. That's all you got. All right, power theorem number 2. So here's my man, power theorem number 2. So we lovingly refer to this power theorem as secant. And this is not because of James Secant and his fraternal twin brother. So this is actually because we've got two secants here. So here's the power theorem, and it's pretty wild. So I know that the product of the whole secant times the outside is equal to the product of the other entire secant times the outside. So the whole thing times the outside equals the whole thing times the outside. That's power theorem number 2. All right. So let's see this one in action. So here my entire length is 10, my outside's 3, entire length is 20, outside 6. So it would be the whole thing times the outside is equal to the whole thing times the outside. So 30 equals 20x, divide by 20, you solve for x. You're done. All right, and then theorem number 3, power theorem number 3. So this is what we call secant tangent. And no, that is not the given name and married name of John and Joanna secant tangent. I'm good. All right, so this is how this one goes. Now, if you remember, secant was the whole thing times the outside, the whole thing times the outside. So this secant tangent is actually the same thing. Look, the top is going to be the whole thing times the outside. But if you look at that tangent down below, the whole thing and the outside are the same thing. So if I multiply the whole thing by the outside, it's going to be y squared. So let's take a peek at an example of this one. Oh, sorry, I don't even have an example. Here's my recap. So for chord, A times B is equal to C times D. For secant, A times B, again, is equal to C times D. And then for secant tangent, A times B is equal to C squared. Go ahead and pause this. Make sure you got this all down in your notes. All right, so let's do a couple of practice problems. So here is the first one. So this is secant. So it's going to be the whole thing times the outside is equal to the whole thing times the outside. Pause the video and see if you can do this. All right, we're back. So did anyone say x times 5 is equal to 9 times 6? Ah, you fell victim. That's a classic trap. So the whole thing is 5 plus x times that outside which is 5. And that's going to be equal to the whole thing, so 9 plus 6, which is 15, times the outside, which is 6. And then you would do your distribution and solve, solve. Fabulous. Okay? So don't get tripped up by that one. All right, last one, and then I'll let you guys go. So this is secant tangent. So remember, the whole thing times the outside is equal to the whole thing times the outside. Pause the video and then come back. All right. Did anyone say 4x times x? Ah! Okay, so the whole thing is 5x. So it's going to be 5x times the outside, which is x, and then equals the whole thing times the outside, which is just 20 squared. And then you would do it out, you'd solve for x, and you're done. All right, so go ahead, tackle that worksheet. You're going to crush it.